Welcome. Today's live tutorial is on how to make a poster and a couple skills you're going to need to know. So, number one, if you're making your poster, the first thing you need to do is create a new document, and that document needs to be sports poster. That document needs to be not pixels but inches, and we're doing 12 wide for this project and 18 tall. Our resolution is going to be 300. It's a vertical orientation, not horizontal. And I'm going to keep white in my background for now. Create. Okay, so I have a brand new palette here. And the first thing I want to show you is how to make a gradient. So gradients are really cool because they kind of give that tone to the background. So for instance, I have a lot of things open here. In the background here, I put this gradient. And it's kind of a circle gradient. I don't know if I like it. It does look like a donut, which is good because I put all these Dunkin' Donut things on here, but that's kind of neither here nor there. So on this sports poster, if you want to make a gradient, what you really want to think about is what colors you have in your chips, so what colors you want. So if this is for Jesuit, it would make sense that I use green, and let's go with a dark green, okay? And then a yellow, so if I double click my chips, then I can choose different colors, okay? Now that I have those colors, when I go to my gradient tool, which is G, so if you're writing this down, gradient tool, which is shortcut G, if you're on Paint Bucket, you just have to flip over to gradient. And what you'll see up here is what the gradient is going to look like up at the top. And then also the gradient style. Okay, there's different gradient styles that you'll get here. If I click the drop down, you'll notice it has a green and yellow because those are my two chip colors here. Okay, it also has a foreground to transparent. Transparent means there's no pixels there, right? So it shows whatever's in the background. That might be nice. And then it has a whole bunch of just standard ones. I'm gonna do green and yellow because that's what I chose. I can also, if I wanna make sure to save it, I can save these gradients and say I want these as Faulkner gradients. And it'll save wherever you save it, obviously. But that way you don't have to keep remaking it. So I'm gonna save it under, Photoshop. This is my personal thing, right? So I might go photography, Photoshop, and I'll make just a gradients. Okay. So I have a gradients folder. That's good to save because I can always reload my gradients, okay? Now, check out what happens. If I left click and I drag, right now it's creating that gradient, okay? And that's based off of whatever size you have here. It looks like a diamond. So if I start it in the middle, you'll really see what it looks like, okay? Sorry, this is the circle one. My eyes deceived me. So that's the circle one. If you want to flip it, swap your chips, and now green's on the outside, okay? So that's that circle one. If I start with this other one to the left, I can click and drag, and you get this kind of line one. And if you do it at different angles, you get those different angles, right? So depending on how you want it to look, if I do a really long stretch, it's more faded. If I do a short stretch, it's much more crisp, okay? To the point where it's a line. Okay. So it's just how much I click and drag on that. Again, I have a little circle one, little pin circle, or a big circle. And again, that's kind of a cool way to highlight the background of a person. I can also do this kind of weird, I'm not sure if I hover over it what it's going to say, angle gradient. So this is an angle gradient, and it looks like that, which is kind of fun. That one's kind of cool, actually, for this poster. And I can also do what is called a reflected gradient, and it has that kind of fun look to it as well. So again, if I do it thinner, it's really sharp. If I do it bigger, it's really bold. And then the last one is a diamond looking thing, and I'm gonna just stop on this one and use this one because it's kind of fun for this sports poster. So I'm gonna do a diamond right there, and now I have a background layer, okay? So I need my athlete now. That's your gradient. I need my athlete, so I'm going to create a new layer here, and I need to bring in my athlete. So I'm gonna go File, Open, and I'm going to open up I've already saved some of Auntie's pictures. Thank you, Auntie, for letting me steal those without my permission. And if I go to Photoshop, I already have my pictures examples for sports poster. And I'm going to choose this picture. Now, this is a really good picture because he's going to be the person I want on my cover. And I'm basing this somewhat off of this look, this Wake Forest poster. And I like this idea, and it's easy. It's not too hard to get these pictures inside of it, okay? And so this is what I'm basing it off of for your information. And so I need to figure out how to get people inside it. But the first thing I need to do is get this player. And so what you want to do first and foremost is you want to select, typically, as we know, select the subject. Because this has that bokeh effect, right? And therefore, it's going to know how to select him pretty well. I need to then go through, though, using my quick selection tool and just kind of unselect some of it. You don't have to be perfect on this because you're going to be putting a lot of stuff in and around it. But I want to make sure to get certain things. I want to make sure I get the hand. And I want to make sure I don't get like this weird link to the pants. That's his thumb. So if I'm having trouble like this, right, I can also use my lasso tool to say, I don't want certain things and I do want other things, okay? And if I want other things, I hold down Shift to add using my lasso tool. If I don't want certain things, I use Alt to get rid of it, okay? And so that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. This, I'm gonna use my lasso tool and say, I don't want, so Alt, click. I don't want any of this stuff. Nice. I do want this wrist. Okay, that looks good. Armpit, no. Armpits always give this quick selection a problem. He also gave me a problem in 7th grade. Okay, so that was at Holy Buckets Academy. No one on this video in the future will understand what this joke is. Okay. And then, okay, I'm missing some of it, but for the sake of this tutorial, I don't want to belabor this. If you're doing this, you want to take that little extra time to make sure you get it. Okay, now I do Control J, right? And I can just delete that background, pushing the delete key on my keyboard. And now I have a pretty good picture of this individual. Now, if you're putting this on a poster, though, don't be satisfied with simply making this a quick picture and moving it over. I would put that 50% gray layer on there, emphasize the shape. I'm definitely right now going to do some quick adjustments and just do some levels adjustments and try to make him a little bit more sharp. Okay, I like that. A little bit more shadow, okay. And then I'm also going to go filter sharpen because this was not a studio shot. I need to make sure I sharpen it really well here. Where is he? I need to make sure I get a really nice shot of this individual. And I'm gonna feel okay to over sharpen here. This would not look good on a normal picture, but on this poster, I'm okay with it being a little bit bold because of what I'm gonna do with this with these graphics inside it. Okay, so I'm gonna sharpen it. It's gonna take us a second. Always have your coffee nearby. It's great. You can close down any InDesign that might be slowing down your computer. And then you're just gonna enjoy waiting. It should not take this long. Ooh, I could put some music on. Delete this one too. Okay, close one. Okay, oh great, he's sharp. Okay, so now I can go Control A to copy, to select all of it, Control C to copy, back to my sports poster, Control V. Okay, now I have him here on a new layer, and I need to say footballer. Okay, not photoballer, footballer. Perfect. I need to do Control T to stretch. I want to make sure he's the perfect size for this poster. I want him nice and big like that. Very good. Okay. So far, so good. We're all clear on what we're doing. Now I want to do the fun stuff where I'm going to put things inside this individual by using a clipping mask, okay? What you're doing here is basically making a double exposure. And a double exposure, to quickly show you what that means, a double exposure is this kind of image, okay? Where you have one image inside another. Back in the day with photography, you would take the picture, but then you wouldn't advance the actual film in the camera, and then you would take another picture. So it was actually a technique that they would do with film. With Photoshop, it's super easy. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to find a picture that I already have from Auntie's pictures, and I'm gonna open them in Photoshop, okay? So open with Adobe Photoshop. I like this picture. There's a lot of action here. So what I need to do is unlock it, simply select it all, Control copy to copy, Control C, excuse me, and then Control V to paste. Okay. At this moment, it doesn't look very good, right? This looks pretty bad. And you're all saying, what a waste of money. Okay, but it's gonna look good, okay? What I have to do is what you've learned before. Because I've cut out this footballer, because I cut them out and they have the blank pixels, that effectively creates a shape that we can fill with anything, okay? So to fill it, all we have to do is on this image, right click and say create clipping mask. And then check it out. Okay, so again, if you were taking notes there, just to show you, I right click that layer, I say create clipping mask, and it goes on him. He's basically a shape now, okay? Now, I've lost a lot of him though, right? Which is problematic because we don't want to lose him. But before I reveal him again, what I want to do is I'm going to position this to where I want, okay? And I want this, let's see, I want it right under his shoulder like that. I like that. Okay, I'm going to push, and that's good. I've moved it with my move tool. Now, you guys all know this. I can use a masking tool in my brush, and I can simply brush it away. And I can brush it away. This is a really easy way to create a vector graphic, or excuse me, not a vector graphic. I was just teaching it. This is a really easy way to create a double exposure, and you get that look that we're trying to go for in this image, right? Where we have these different things inside the player. Now, what I also notice here though is that the player is black and white. So I want that black and white, but I don't want to lose the gold helmet. So what I can do is when it's colored, it's still the colored image, I can copy that lower layer and then make this layer, I'm gonna rename it Footballer Black and White. And you guys all know this now from your last project. I can simply go Image, Adjustments, Black and White. And now he's black and white, which is cool. And I'm gonna make him like, let's see, I don't wanna lose the reds. I'm gonna make it just a little bit more robust there. Nice, okay. Now though, I can use my mask again on this layer, mask, and cut through because I want the gold helmet. Okay, so I want the gold helmet, I want the green gloves, I like those gloves that were green, and I want the Jesuit part to be in color. Okay, so I'm cutting through from this black and white layer to this footballer layer. Okay, so that way I have that black and white look, plus the color of the helmet because I want that gold color because that's kind of sweet. And I have the multiple images on there, okay? Again, I can add in another one if I want to, so let's get this one of the line. I can say open with, Photoshop, open with, Photoshop, okay. And again, once again, Control A, Control A, copy, sports poster, Control V. And now that picture's also in there. Depending on where I move it, right, that adjusts what's happening. And then with my move tool, which is that tool up in the corner, I move it around. I can resize it because I don't like how big that is. And I can get that line over here. I like that that football's on his arm. Okay. And then again, masking tool, brush out some of it so I don't have those hard edges. I could go in and do that a little bit more intensely. So now I have 2 images on there. Okay, again, I've done 2 clipping masks on that layer. Okay. Last thing I want to show you as we wrap up this video. If you want to put a logo in there, because you'll need to put logos, I go to Google. I've Googled a Notre Dame logo. It's pretty easy, right? I find one that's decent resolution. White background's really nice. I save the image as. It's a JPEG, which means I can do it, which is great. I go to my photography folder, Photoshop, Notre Dame logo. Then I'm going to open it with Photoshop. Okay. I'm going to select a color range, white, just the white. Okay. I'm going to delete the white. Perfect. And now I'm just going to be lazy here and just drag it straight over. Drop it in. Perfect. I have the Notre Dame logo up here. Control T, I can resize it however I want, right? If I don't want to make it so bold, I'm going to name this Notre Dame. I can also drop that opacity. Okay. And so I can make that lighter if I wanted to. And then if I wanted to make a whole bunch of them, I could just copy this a whole bunch of times and then be like, oh, Notre Dame, go Irish. Woot, woot. It's everywhere. And then if I'm really lazy, I can select all those layers and copy those layers. Holy buckets. And now, oh my gosh, okay, I'm moving too many things. Okay, but suddenly I have so many Notre Dame layers and I can move all those layers around. So, gradients, double exposures, logos, blending, black and white. Okay, those are a lot of things that today I want to encourage you to think about just playing with on your computer. I'm going to pause the video and talk to you about your assignment.